Again. Hello again, welcome to Faith, Family, and Politics. I'm your host, Joshua Cummins.
We're going to have a really big show today.
Yeah, we are. It's our good friend Louis Rodriguez over there. Tonight's a very special night. As you guys may or may not know, or if you can't tell, everyone at this table, this is all of Revolver Broadcasting as far as our shows go. And so, as I go around the table and introduce everybody today, you're going to be actually being introduced to everyone that has a show on Revolver Broadcasting. So go over to their channels and subscribe and comment and all that good stuff.
Like and share and yeah.
And that dissenting voice is the host of the Laughing Libertarian, Alan McFarland.
That's how you get noted first. Hey everybody, thanks for coming to the show. It's fantastic. I know you waited 2 weeks. We waited 2 weeks and 3 days.
Yeah, well, I mean, because someone with my name had to get COVID. But for safety's sake, that's why we kept everybody apart. But we're back now, and
doing things in twos.
Yeah, and so just before he spoke, and the guy that told us we're going to have a really big show tonight in a very exclamation way, Louis Rodriguez, host of Rodriguez Rants.
Nice to be here. Let us know how much you hate us.
Shake them haters off, right, Louis? And bringing the message tonight is host of What is the Truth About with Danny Tippett. Danny Tippett.
Hello, hello, hello. What is the truth about? We're on a third episode next week. We'll record, and it's going to be a video. And what it really is going to be, going to be a deeper study of what we're going to talk about tonight. So,
yeah, I'm excited about both tonight and this new video because we're crossing over because Danny's first two episodes were audio only. To have him on video.
Get this ugly mug out there.
I really think he was just waiting to get his eyebrows done.
An excuse to get my beard done.
You told your wife, hey, I got to do this. This is part of the budget now.
Yeah. It's a likeness. My nil. When do I get my nil?
This gets more viewers. Trust me, honey. Okay, so you have a title for us?
Yes, Victory Over Fear is what we're going to talk tonight about. And more or less, fear is just think about anxiety is going to be probably the main topic you'll hear me say the most. But before we get started, go ahead and pray.
An open prayer, yes.
Lord, I just thank you for this opportunity tonight. Glad to get all the guys together, all the shows together, Father, be able to sit here and talk about something I think that's is near and dear to my heart, but it's also near and dear to, I know, millions of people out there struggling with anxiety, struggling with fear in various ways and various things, God. I just pray tonight that in what we're going to talk about, the cure for anxiety in God's Word, in your Word, that you'll be able to bring that out, and we can all walk away from this table with something that we can use to help us when the enemy is coming after us or the world just seems to be unbearable. But God, for somebody who's watching tonight, I pray, God, that this will seep into their hearts and their minds, that they will have something that they can use, that they can lean on, God. For somebody that doesn't know you tonight, I pray that they lean into you and decide to give their life to you, to trust you tonight, God, to say that this has got to be something I need because I can't find it anywhere else. And this is in a word that's speaking to my heart. So, God, I pray for tonight to touch somebody. God, if anything else, I thank you for what you've done in my life. And I just pray that we just have a good time tonight. We just everything we talk about, discuss is glorifying you, God. And again, thank you for this awesome opportunity. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 All right. So let's go ahead and jump into this. And there's some things I sort of want to go over, but I do want to start with this. Like, anxiety is a real thing, right? I think probably all of us have experienced it in some way. There is like normal stress. And by the way, let me start off with this. I am not a psychologist, a psychiatrist. I don't have a degree. I don't have any of that. What I'm speaking to you is from experience, from a lot of study, a lot of research, a lot of prayer.
However, Louis is the science. He's Professor Rodriguez.
Professor Rodriguez right here. So he'll correct me on anything that I get wrong scientifically, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So, but it is something that I've experienced over the last decade of my life, that I have dealt with anxiety. I never had anxiety before 13 years ago, which it's sort of even hard for me to even imagine what life was like without anxiety. And you may be saying, well, it doesn't sound like you've dealt with it very well. But anxiety is one of those things. It's like when you're trying to get in shape, or when you're trying to do something and create a habit to do better, it takes work. And sometimes you're afflicted with things, and it takes work to get it out of your lives. And so this has been 13 years of victory is what I'm going to be sharing with you tonight. And what we're going to be reading in Philippians is literally what I believe is the cure for anxiety. Now, we'll talk about medication. We'll talk about a New York Post article that came out not too long ago talking about depression and antidepressants. But don't think that I'm anti-medicine either. I believe it probably does work for some people, and then for some people maybe actually causing more problems. So something we'll discuss, but we're going to go over quite a bit, but get all the guys' input here, because I think everybody has something to add from different perspectives. So what I'd like to start off with some numbers though, right? So let's really talk about this, and keep in mind, these numbers are more likely from people that have actually had reported or been to a doctor, or maybe even polled, but I would almost say that these numbers are much higher than what I'm about to read, but it's still quite a bit. So general anxiety disorder is what we call GAD or GAD. It affects 6.8 million adults, or about 3.1% of the U.S. population. Yet only 43.2% are receiving treatment for that. Women are twice as likely to be affected as men. So GAD often co-occurs with major depression as well, which is probably what started it with me when I was depressed, where I was in the Border Patrol Academy. Then it went into more than that. And I'll get into that here in just a minute. But panic disorder, which was also a start of how this all happened as well. Yeah.
I was just saying, it's so funny it's GAD. That's literally what people in Boston had to yell up to actually talk to him. Gad! Gad, listen to me. I can't find my khakis. Sorry, go ahead.
That was quick. That was good. I mean, really. Yeah. I can hear it now. I'm not going to be able to get rid of that. That's not going to be able to go away. Panic disorders. So I'm not even going to say those two letters together, but affects 6 million adults, or 2.7% of the population. Women, again, are twice as likely to be affected as men. Social anxiety disorder, which affects 15 million adults, or 7.1% of the population. SAD or SAD is equally common among men and women, and typically begins around the age of 13. I think one of the things we have to think about with this, especially in today's world, like we're going to see much more stronger mental health cases and more of it, and at a younger age too, especially with the onset of how prevalent social media's got, how much earlier kids are getting phones these days and being allowed to be on social media. And just with the pandemic and all the things that happened there, I mean, if you look at the numbers now, they're skyrocketing. Suicide is skyrocketing.
Yeah. They spent more time indoors. They didn't have anywhere to go, and a lot of these young people spend a lot of time on. Alan hates this when I talk about it, but they talk about that TikTok, man, because they're like, oh, 6 seconds, 6 seconds, 6 seconds. They go through and they flip through all these videos. And they get addicted, and
it stimulates the brain, you know.
And it's a comparative thing too. They're constantly being able to compare themselves.
Yeah.
You know, you used to be able to compare yourself to people in your neighborhood.
Right.
And now it's worldwide.
And how many times have we been told don't compare yourself to others, but yet we're constantly bombarded with these, you know, various things on our phones that are constantly comparing us to other people. It's getting out of control. Specific phobias, and I'm pretty sure most everybody's familiar with something like agoraphobia. Don't want to go outside, so I'm fearful of going outside. Or arachnophobia, I'm fearful of spiders, you know, things like that. I'm not, but that's just an example. 19.3 million adults, or 9.1% of the U.S. population. Again, women are twice as likely to be affected than men. Symptoms typically begin in childhood and around the average of 7 years old. OCD, or obsessive compulsive disorder, and post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, are closely related to anxiety disorders, which some may experience at the same time along with depression. And then there's stress. Everybody, all of us, experience stress. And really stress, and this is quite a key to understand here. The difference between stress and anxiety is that stress is a response to a threat. Okay, so like
fight or flight.
Your fight or flight, or like a dog's chasing you, it's your response to that event. Okay, but anxiety is a reaction to the stress. There's what you do with it after the threat has happened. The stress is then there, and then what do you do with that? Do you mull on it? Do you run with it? Is that all you're consumed with, all you're thinking about? You get a diagnosis at the doctor. That diagnosis is going to cause stress. That stress now, from that point, what are you going to do with it? And that's the key here that we need to understand. Something that I can say, like when I had my panic attack in the academy, after months of being there, and without my kids, without my wife for months, depressed, not realizing I was depressed, but depressed, that panic attack hit me. And then from that day on, it's been nothing, it's been anxiety coming in and out of my life for the last 13 years. It's been learning how to not deal with it, not learn how to live with it, but how to overcome it. I used to think I'm going to have to live with this for the rest of my life. No more. I'm done with that. I don't have the energy to just decide I'm going to live with this. I want to overcome it. And I truly believe that God has given us in His Word a way to overcome it. And it's really honestly common sense when you think about it.
Have you ever felt like you've harnessed it though? Has there ever been a time where you've ever harnessed that anxiety, that energy that comes from it?
I think the times that maybe I started to feel like I did, it came back.
I gotcha. I just didn't know sometimes you can take anxiety and you can turn it into focus.
Yeah.
Because it helps you hyper focus. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
it hyper focuses and gives you
Wrong
all the
thing.
bad feelings.
Right.
But you can also use it to hyper focus on, like you were saying,
Yeah.
when you get the diagnosis, right? When the doctor gives you the diagnosis, all that
Right.
anxiety and stress hits you,
Mhm.
and then what do you do with it? Does it make you focus on
Right.
how to fix it, or does it
Right.
just drive you into a pit?
And that's exactly the key. I think for me, and if we're going to look at those terms, for me, it's been harnessed. Helps me. I've been asking God to help me harness it, right? So to help me, first of all, acknowledge when it's happening, because I get so far into sometimes I don't even know that it was happening. Next thing I know, I've spent 15 minutes just thinking about my health and what's this pain or what's this weirdness or what's that feel or what's that palpitation or what's this, right? And so, yeah, I think focus is a great word for it, because I was focusing on the wrong thing. Now I want to focus on something else, and that would be, I would say, harnessing it. Saying, okay, I'm going to let it drive me towards what is going to help me and stop driving me more further in that pit or retreating inward or saying, you know what, I'm just sitting here dwelling on this. There's no other way out of this. Yes, there is. There is another way out of this. I just need to focus on that,
Yeah, well, you can turn that nervous energy, like Alan said, into focus. But for me, it was because off and on again over the years, I wanted to be a musician and stuff. And so, in order to go on stage, you always get the butterflies. That never, anybody that says they don't get butterflies before going on stage, I think that they're an absolute liar.
Right.
But you could decide to okay, I'm just going to shake the whole time I'm on stage, which did happen to me once, or I can use that to hyper focus.
Yeah.
And just make this a really good show. And I noticed that it was almost like flipping a switch in my brain. I'm just going to use this and truck forward. And you just, I don't know what happens, but it's just everything shuts off that was making you anxious, and you just do.
Well, that's the point we're going to get to here, right? Thinking about the red truck, don't think about the red truck, don't think about it. So your mind you can't clear it. You just can't go blank mind. It just, I don't care who you are. You're not going to be able to do that unless you're some weird, crazy guru. I have complete control over my mind and body type deal, which I don't know.
It's so wonderful.
Yeah.
Or the exact opposite.
Or the exact
The other end of the spectrum.
Yeah. So it's I think understanding that if I have something in my mind, the only way I get rid of it is not by not thinking about it, but by replacing it, right? And so, to your point, it is interesting you said it. So I was just reading a buddy of mine's post today, and he was talking about, he was at church and he was struggling. He was about to have a panic attack. He felt like he was just ready to run out of the room, and he was about to play drums. And this is the perfect example. He asked for the pastor, one of the pastors and a friend to pray over him, and they prayed over him, but he still felt anxious. And then he gets in his drum set, or behind, and I think they have a little plexiglass, space. Yeah, and then he got it in behind the drums. Anyways, he started, and he just went away, he was just in the zone. That's because drums, or the action of doing something that he had to focus on, the harnessing it, he harnessed it in another way. And so his focus was on playing drums, and he said it just went away, and it was beautiful, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly the same thing. When you get those butterflies and everything, once you just go in there and focus, you're not thinking about what could go wrong anymore because you're focused on doing it. And I think that's something that we have to really understand, and we're going to get into that. Paul hits that beautifully in this passage in Philippians chapter 4. So But before we get to that, I do want to make this mention because this has been an article that's come up, and it's been about depression. New York, a study that just came out, and it was the University College of London, and the study said that it debated that the efficiency of antidepressants, suggesting there was no evidence that depression is caused by a chemical imbalance, and negating the decades-old notion that a serotonin deficiency is the reason for mental health disorder, gripping an estimated 21 million Americans. That's from the article. Basically, what this article was saying is that there was a study done, and it was done over a large group of people over many years, and it's showing that they don't see that there's any evidence because they had a placebo group and they had a control group that was using the antidepressants. And the placebo group, even in some ways, was performing far better than the antidepressant group. And so the evidence wasn't showing that the serotonin deficiency that doctors tell us that we may have, which is a chemical imbalance, which can only be fixed by providing some kind of other chemicals to balance that out,
Right.
is actually working. Now, I'm not trying to throw doubt on anybody here that's taken antidepressants, but there's plenty of examples, and even in this article, where coming off of sometimes antidepressants it makes people suicidal. It's hard to come off. Sometimes you get stuck on it. Sometimes, and I think maybe you have the story, or you don't have to share it, but you have an experience that we talked about earlier. It's stuff that you deal with, that these chemicals that they're putting in us, or asking to put us, or trying to make us put in ourselves, it not really helping. Or maybe it does help and it's putting the Band-Aid over at the meantime, but it's not it has to be something you have to continuously do, because if you ever wean off of it, then everything comes back. Now, not for everybody, okay? But there's also a measure of having to do some work. And that's the point of the passage here. Putting in the work. We can't just expect a miracle to happen. I mean, if we ask God, he does miracles, okay? I agree with that. I believe that. He can do that if he wants to. But in my life, what I had to deal with is work. Like, God wants me to put the work in. He knows just handing it to me, in most cases, is not going to make me appreciative, first of all, thankful, second of all, or even really be okay and fixed in that sense. So
I usually get anxiety about getting stuff. Like when God gives me a miracle, I'm like, this is really nice. When's the floor going to drop?
Right, yeah. Okay.
I think Alan can relate to
Yeah,
it.
you just gave that to me. What's going to happen next? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got to put this work in, and so medicine can help. It can, and I'm sure it helps somebody out there. But it's just like the same thing. Like, you can go and work out in the gym and lift weights all day long, but if you don't change your diet, that's sometimes the hardest thing. It really is the hardest thing to do. And so you have to put the work in. And so I want to read Philippians 4:4-9, and we'll go through this, and then I want to bring up Matthew 6, because in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus talks in Matthew 6, starting in verse 25, about not worrying. Okay, it's also labeled in some Bibles as a cure for anxiety. But the interesting thing is there's really the one verse in Matthew 6 that you can take out and say this is actually the cure, and then actually bring it back over to Philippians where Paul is at, because I think he expands on what Jesus is saying as far as that goes. So let me actually start there. Matthew 6, I'll just summarize it. Basically, it starts in verse 25, and it's talking about the birds in the air. Like, they're not having to worry. Yeah, naturally they're going out, they're having to take care of the chicks, or they're having to feed themselves and all that stuff. But they don't worry like we as humans do. The flowers, they don't worry at all, right? But they're beautifully dressed. Like, God takes care of the animals, God takes care of the flowers than those things. Why would he not more take care of his most prized creation, us, human beings, right? And so I know when I'm talking to my Christian brothers and sisters, and maybe some of you out there can attest to this, I'm always told, don't worry. It says, in Matthew 6, and don't be anxious and don't worry, and just look at all. I mean, why do you have nothing to worry about? You got all these other things are happening, and God's taking care of them. Why is he not going to take care of you? Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. And here I am worrying. You're telling me not to do something. I'm doing it. And nobody ever really, like, they would just float over verse 33, but they would never really pinpoint it and say, well, instead of not doing something, like, again, use this example, don't think about the red truck, Josh. Don't think about the red truck, Josh. You're going to think about the red truck.
That's all I'm thinking.
If I don't think about I love Jesus, I don't think about I love Jesus. It's imprinted in my brain right now, right? But if I think about a yellow, now I want to think about a yellow truck. Now I'm going to think about a yellow truck. So I'm replacing it, but I can't not just do something.
Yeah.
I have to say, and God is so smart about this because he knows how our brains work. Why? Because he created them. So he tells us in verse 33, this is the do, and that's the important part. So this is the do. And this is sort of like a general do, okay? It's not getting into the specifics. We'll get into that here in a minute in Philippians. He says, but seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be provided to you. So everything he just listed that was provided to the birds and to the flowers and so on and so forth, all those things provided to them will be provided to us if we seek God first. That's the do. Well, what does that mean, right? That's like a tall order. And if you don't read the Bible, if you're not a Christian, you won't know what does it mean to seek it first his kingdom. I don't know. I don't know. Heaven? Okay, maybe. What does it mean to seek his righteousness? I don't. So a lot of people need to know what the word righteousness means.
Yeah, and this is a good example of something that young people need to learn. When you're reading your Bible, it's always context
Yes.
before content.
Always.
So you've got to know all about what you're reading. Read the whole thing. Then you can pull the little pieces out as you like, as long as you understand the whole the whole pie.
Never
Mainstream media could learn something from that too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Context and everything. Never just read a verse. And even when you're talking with somebody, if somebody uses a word, and like, okay, you tell me, because you may think that word might mean something to you. You tell me what you think that word, because if you guys aren't starting from the same definition, or the same understanding, the same context, your conversation after
like
that's going to be
recession.
pointless. Right.
I don't think that word means what you think it means.
Yeah.
Princess Bride reference over here.
Great movie. So let me go to, now I want to go to Philippians, because taking what Jesus just said in verse 33 about seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be provided to you. Paul, who, by the way, has been beaten, who's been, shipwrecked, who's been bit by a snake, who's been imprisoned, all right, he's been cast out of plenty of towns. You can't even, count them. I mean, this guy has been through everything, right?
Yeah.
I mean, bars. Thrown out of this bar, thrown out of that bar.
going to every place and just getting kicked out and getting beat up. And,
It's just.
Well, I never got beat up.
Well, that's
Well,
good.
I mean-
That's good. That's good.
You get kicked out of plenty of places,
yeah.
I got kicked out.
whether they're physical or
Never.
digital.
I was just about to
Never got beat
say.
up.
Plenty of tragedy happening too. That's for sure.
They tried.
So Philippians 4:4-9. Let's go ahead and read it. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice. Again, this is Paul saying this, and he's saying this from prison, by the way. Let your gentle spirit be made known to all people. The Lord is near. Here we go. Do not be anxious about anything. So there's our first do not. Okay. But here's the do. In everything by prayer and pleading with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all comprehension, will guard your heart and mind in Christ Jesus. Now, that's the do. But it doesn't even really, it's not really even specific there, right? He's just saying, okay, pray, thank God for everything, and do these things, and then tell God what it is that you need help with, or tell God everything. You're telling God what you need help with, and you're praising God for what he's done. And when you do that, his peace is going to just overcome you in the time of when you just can't even imagine to have that peace, because you just can't comprehend it. And that's going to guard your heart and your mind. And that's where we have our thoughts, and we need to ask God to take those things captive, make them obedient to Christ, because we're constantly bombarded with other philosophies and ideas and thoughts and facts and things like that. Like, we need God to really be our filter. We need the Holy Spirit to be our filter. So Paul doesn't stop there. This is where it gets even better. And this is where, again, you're going to read this, but there's more to it after that, okay?
Yeah.
He says, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable or admirable. If there is anything of excellence, and if anything is worthy of praise, think about these things. As for the things you have learned and received and heard and seen in me, practice these things, and the God of peace will be with you. So we hear the word peace again, and it's after you think about what is true, right, pure, honorable, admirable, lovely, excellent, commendable, worthy of praise. Okay, so now we're getting more specifics. Now he's telling us, replace what you were thinking. Stop focusing on the anxiety. Stop focusing on that stress. Now replace it and think about these things. He tells us exactly. But it doesn't end for us there. because he's not telling us what to think about specifically. He's just saying, so think about what is true. Okay, now the next question is, Louis, what is true?
Truth is what you believe in,
Okay,
and what you believe in. God gonna tell you or do.
right, okay. God's word, God is true. What is pure?
What is pure?
Yeah.
I would say without.
See, you're having to think though, right? Yeah. Okay, so what is pure?
God.
Yeah, God's pure.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
What else? You gonna throw something in there?
No.
What is right?
No, I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm looking
what is
right?
right?
In the eye, and I'm not
Tell
gonna
me
say
what is
anything.
right.
Me.
There we go. You are right,
I have to make my own decisions for myself,
but you're right.
so I have to be right.
You're here. God created you.
Exactly.
You're right. No, but it is. I mean, don't put it in a box. Don't put these things in a box. These things are for us to think. We got to look at, and when we start focusing, taking the focus off of ourselves, whatever the issue is, whatever the event or the stress was that we're obviously stressing about, that's the work. But it's not just a one-day thing. Like I recite this verse multiple times a day. And then I don't just recite the verse, because I could recite the verse all day long, but am I actually doing the work? Am I actually thinking about what is true and all these things? What is right? What is pure? Am I actually doing it? Name it. Call it out. Say it out loud. Whatever it is to stop focusing on whatever the anxiety that was being produced, the spirit of fear that's speaking into your ear, or whatever you're doing on your own to cause that anxiety. Think about those things. Call it out. Be specific. And you don't have to do it for the next 2 hours. I promise you, if you just do it, repeat it every single day, when you know that you're starting to feel that anxiety, say, first of all, I rebuke, no. Satan, no, you're a liar. You are a liar. Jesus is the truth. Jesus, you're my truth. All right, there's one truth right there. Okay, God's word, he has promises. They're true. Right, his creation is lovely. Okay, what's admirable and honorable, Christians doing the right thing. I think of Billy Graham, or I think of Mother Teresa, or I think of my people in my family that do amazing things that are just honorable and admirable. Okay, so it's getting specific, so that way now that I've been thinking about that, I've stopped thinking about whatever I was stressing about or having anxiety about, and I keep doing it. And this is where we get into the whole scientific aspect of it. In the basic terms, and can't go much deeper than that anyways, neural pathways, we create them all day long. We create them from children all the way up. That's what we're learning, creating those habits. Our brains get wired. We literally are wiring our brains as we are growing. And we continue to do that as adults. And when we come across very intense situations, I mean, we can talk about like PTSD with, veterans and things like that. Like they've created these neural pathways while they were out there doing the things that they're doing for us and for our country. And they come back wrecked. And so they have to go through the painstaking effort of breaking those neural pathways and recreating them and creating better habits, so that way they can start to view the world other than what they experienced over there when they were at war for us. They can now experience it in a more positive way and say, okay, that's where I was at over there. This is where I'm at here, And so we have to, this is the way to do that. This is the way for us to do that.
They have a hard time coping with the truth and what's pure, and mostly wind up in the lies.
Yeah, and I'm not going to try to imagine that you would even know or be able to experience what they're going through, but I do agree. It's lies, right? What they thought was over there is now over here. It's going to affect them. I was at a football game a couple of years ago, and it was at a school. When they get a touchdown, they shoot off cannons. And there's 2 veterans that were sitting behind me, and that first cannon went off, and his wife, he just jumped, and he just got quiet. And his wife said, "Are you okay?" And he was like, "I'm fine." And then he left for a while, walked off. It's just things like that. It's just, how can we be able to rewire the brain, or let God do that, which is what he's doing here. So I think it's something that it's throughout Scripture. We're told, don't be afraid, trust in God, right? And how do we trust in God? Well, we have to think about the things that he's done for us.
And have the faith.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, even in that too, right? Even if you don't feel like you have a lot of faith, like if you're a Christian, you have faith of some sort. We don't always are full of faith. We're not always full of faith. We're weak a lot of times.
That's true.
That little bit of faith is still what we have, though. And Jesus said it can be as small as a mustard seed. You still have it though. Use that.
If you
Right.
believe Christ is your Lord, man, that's all you need.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
That's all you need. So I just want to encourage people, and again, we're gonna go into the next episode. We're gonna go really deep into a lot of these things. We're gonna have sort of laid out some more steps that we can go through, and some more examples and stuff, and more verses, sort of help you out. But I really encourage you to listen. I think it's something I've been practicing for the last 13 years, and I by no means have this ace, and I'm not going to go and do some, start some business now and trying to sell you, a 50-step program or whatever. But these are,
Josh is trying to take another 2 weeks off.
yeah, I was trying to talk over them so that way, but his
Swallow the
lungs
water.
coming out right now. You're not a fish. Not a fish.
Yeah, not a fish.
Laura's finally taking him out. It's on camera.
She's slowly poisoning me over the years.
Maybe
A lot of years,
Maybe
man.
you want to drink some water now.
It is a lot of years.
A lot of years to poison you.
But yeah,
Make it look good.
I think
Untraceable.
I think some of the things that we have to realize with anxiety, if we let it control us, it does stuff to us, but it also does stuff to the people around us. It pulls them out of our lives. Whether they don't understand it, my wife loves me to death. She didn't understand it when I started having it because she can't relate. She can't relate at all. She has no clue what I'm going through.
It's a battle.
It is, and again, when you're dealing with deep-rooted anxiety, you're not going to be super vocal about it. Very few people are. I've seen that, but most people retreat inward and don't say a word, and that's me. I don't.
Well, and you also you don't know how to understand or explain it either. I had agoraphobia when I went through depression, and literally I was scared to go outside.
Yeah.
I was scared of the responsibility of driving a vehicle. These silly things, like I didn't want to get out of bed. Something was it was too much responsibility and too difficult to manage any normal aspect of my life.
Yeah.
And I couldn't explain it because it didn't make sense to me.
Mm.
It was the craziest I'd ever felt in my life. And man, I'm happy I haven't had those moments. I haven't had another one of those moments, and it's been almost a decade. So
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine people who deal with it. I dealt with it for a month. I couldn't imagine people who deal with it on a regular basis.
You feel like you're losing your mind. You honestly do. You're just like, am I going crazy? Am I losing it? Like, I see with my eyes, there's nothing really threatening me right now. But here, I'm freaking out. And it's hard. You're right. It's hard to tell somebody how you're feeling right now.
Because it doesn't make sense.
Right, exactly. And they're going to look at you and they're like, they feel helpless. They can't do anything about it. And so my wife has been very gracious, and she has really tried to figure out how she can help me. And I don't want to pass it on to my kids. My son has anxiety. We've had to deal with him having chest pains. We thought he actually had maybe some heart issues, so we got that checked out. He doesn't. Come to find out, he's got anxiety. But like it didn't hit me till my mid-30s, and then I talking to my dad because I was ready to leave the academy. Like I was developing agoraphobia. I didn't want to go out anymore. I had to call my wife 3 times a day just to make it through the day, just to go out to do the next thing. Carried my Bible with me everywhere I went. Okay, and now I'm saying all this that these are things that were happening, but in the meantime, like God's doing the work. And I will tell you this, I had walked away from God. Not that I realized it, but I did. And he has used anxiety. He has allowed it to happen in my life because he knew, I didn't know, it was going to draw me to him. Like I literally ran to him in the academy. When this started hitting me, I didn't know what to do with it. I was thinking I was going to die of a stroke or a heart attack or anything. I was in the best shape of my life. And I couldn't do anything, almost paralyzed. I think there was this scripture right here. And the anxiety of the world and the deceitfulness of wealth choked the word, and it became unfruitful. Matthew 13:22. I felt like I was choking, like suffocating. I can't, I don't know what to do with this. And when it gets intense, that's how it gets, And the last 3 months have been so intense for me that the stress that's been happening, I've not been dealing with it. Thought I was, but not been dealing with well. So much so that I got a heart monitor on right now for an event monitor that I get off in the next couple weeks. Now, I've been tested, and the doctors say I'm fine, and I believe that I am. But that's what it's gotten to. And that's the thing, like, don't let the anxiety get to you to where it pushes your health down, it drives you into a ground, It pushes people away. You push people away. It can affect your kids greatly. All right. I mean, there's so much you can do for it. And ultimately, in my belief, in my experience, and I'm saying this about me, it was selfishness. It is absolute selfishness. I've been a selfish person for so long, never considered myself a selfish person, but I have been for so long that it's finally affected me to a point now to where it almost was debilitating and just kept me from living the life. And that's the thing. I had a conversation with a guy today, and I was telling him, God has not designed you to be this way. He has not called you to a life of anxiety. He's called you to a life of joy and full abundance of that joy. Live life to the fullest. And you have to believe that. And you're here to help somebody else too. So many things, so many positives. Again, that's what we get to when we start talking about those positives. Say, okay, let's think about what is right. It's right for me to talk to somebody else and say, hey, this is what I've been through. And not be the typical guy, the typical dude, and be like, I'm cool.
You know, I think Danny said the same thing to me after you watched my first show. He's like, God hasn't called you to a life of this. God doesn't want you to be this way.
No. I
was like, fine, I'll do 19 more shows like this.
We're going to call it the Laughing Christian next time.
Cackling Christian.
Cackling Christian, I like that one.
Anxiety is a person that can't deal with life, can't deal with a person or a problem. And that's when they take it out and start screaming, yelling, punching walls and stuff like that, because they can't deal with it. And that's what happens when you have that.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of kids with that.
Yeah.
I can't help but to think when you said you kind of were pushing God away when you were out there in the desert and, working through academy and such.
Yeah.
So you're in the desert, you push God away. Did you ever see footprints in the sand?
I saw a lot of footprints in the sand. Sort of my job. Oh yeah, multiple sometimes. You know how there's supposed to be one set of footprints?
Yeah.
No, there was like 20.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, if you've ever seen like the immigrant sign, it's like the caravan.
Yeah.
All the footprints.
Sometimes we saw cow hooves too. So.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Illegal immigrant cows.
Yeah.
That's
So it's another story.
Oh, there's so many jokes there.
There's so many.
So many. Go ahead. Sorry.
So I wonder if you take down one of those Mexican cows, if it just automatically makes chorizo.
It's good stuff.
No, but I want to see them illegally launch them over the wall. Or how many?
Please somebody tell me you can do an English accent right now, because all I keep thinking is search for the Holy Grail. I'm sorry.
I'm wondering how many drones it takes to carry them over. You're like, dang it! I know they're smuggling something in.
Reminds me of the movie Twister. I gotta go, honey. We got cows.
So change for once. Bring the cows over to us. I'm sure the ranchers would appreciate that.
Right.
Oh,
They just move them on down the line.
Right.
Yeah. I'll finish up with this for everybody out there watching. I think that one of the key elements that you have to understand here is that the audience that Paul's talking to, he's not talking to non-believers. He's not talking to non-Christians. Now, that may seem harsh, but he is actually talking to the Christian church at the Church of Philippi. And this is important because he's telling them, you have this ability you have this person in your life. You have the Holy Spirit in you. You have this connection with God because you've accepted Christ into your life. And he's telling them that's a power that we all have. Now, for you out there that you may not know Christ, I'm not telling you don't have that power, but I am telling you it is available to you should you want to choose to accept that. And it is something that we can, yeah, that was me.
I know, but it's just wonderfully timed.
Yeah, I know.
It can be available to you.
Ding. There it is.
If you give them the time.
That was my wife sending me a text. So, anyways,
the 3 easy installments of $39.95. You too
Josh
could
was
be
always
bathed in the life of Christ.
Right.
Josh was always looking at me saying, "Are you doing
It's
this?"
usually Louie. To be fair, I looked over at Laura first, and she.
There's another one. There's another one.
All I'm saying is, once he got out of prison, he started talking to people about God because he had cred now. And now I completely understand why rappers are so popular these days.
Yeah.
Like, let me talk to you about God. They're like, let me talk to you about street crime. Anyway, sorry.
So yeah. So really, honestly, I just want everybody to know the peace that I know because of God. You know,
Yeah.
I again, if you don't know Him, good luck to you, because you're having to find something in this world. Because you can't find it within. Obviously, you're not finding it within yourself, because what you're finding is anxiety within yourself. So you're having to find something in this world that is constant, never changes, and promises to always come through every single time. I can tell you right now, there's not a person in this world that will be that person for you. There's not a single one. And there's not a thing or an object that can do that as well. So,
What about Joe Biden?
Where are we? What are we doing?
Like I said, nobody. Nobody.
Nobody.
So yeah, I really encourage people to seek, you know, and don't let yourself get all the way down to the bottom pit before you decide to turn and look upward. So
Definitely.
So you're saying you shouldn't let yourself fall off the bike? You should fight through it, even if you need training wheels.
just
realize you need the training wheels.
Don't put the straps on the pedals.
That's fair.
Okay.
Especially if you're, how old is he?
I think that was planned. I honestly think somebody was doing that on purpose. He's got a mole somewhere in there. I mean, somebody in there. There's some conservatives like, yeah, we're putting straps on those pedals.
It takes 5 pounds of pressure to take your feet out of them, and you only have 3 pounds of pressure in your ancient legs. Don't do it.
Yeah, we did a reaction video on both Rodriguez rants and Laughing at Rotarian, but Alan made a good point. He's like, he's got 3 points of contact there. And I was like, I didn't think about it until he said it. And I was like, he does have 3 points of contact. Oh my gosh, and he still falls.
And now we have a wonderful flag on Google Maps for
Yeah.
Biden falls.
Yeah. So for those of you who haven't seen it, go check out Biden falls off his bicycle. It's actually quite hilarious.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah, he's fine.
Did you do a play-by-play as well? Oh, you did? Nice. Sorry, I didn't see it. My mistake.
Yeah, you gotta go back and watch
I
it.
saw
Yeah,
yours.
check it out. I'm sorry, man.
The thumbnail was great. We used it was Joe Biden
On the bicycle,
on the big wheel.
I did see that. I did see the thumbnail.
Yeah.
It'd be the Halloween costume this year.
Just
Thrones of kids on
Just
bikes
go get
laying
the
in the
old-
street.
Just go get the old Saw one and just put his face on it.
Oh my goodness.
A little Saw doll.
Oh,
Just smack his old mug on it.
whatever his, I can't remember the name. That guy's name. There's a character on the.
No, I never
So
saw
Jigsaw? I mean, hold on. Jigsaw. And his little, I can't remember the doll. I don't know what the doll has a name.
I never saw it. It was too creepy for me.
Too
much.
It is a little different.
And I don't like depressing
game.
I don't like
know how to
depressing
stay in your
games.
lane.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Can you
No,
put
I'm
your
good.
other foot
I'm
on the
good.
ground? That's all you need to do.
I've never known a human being needing 14 points of contact. Mostly other people holding him. That's the contact.
I just still don't get it.
That's
Fail.
fantastic.
That's a staff fail right there.
Yeah, well, there are people actually going to that spot and doing the Biden challenge and taking photos of themselves.
Yeah.
On the ground.
Biden challenge. Yeah.
Whatever happened to security? They probably were sitting back like, don't have
Yeah.
Don't do
There
it.
should have been enough guys
Let him
around him just that he could have leaned into them. They should have been that close. Just lean
Lean
over to the
It's
next.
so funny. I'm just picturing somebody jogging alongside him. You know he wasn't going that fast, right?
Right.
And he's just like, there's 2 guys on each side of him, just kind of like, just
Yeah.
fixing him.
That's what they should have been doing.
There's tilt sensors.
Where were they?
Oh my goodness.
He's got a tilt alarm. Sorry.
You know what he should have had was some of those. You remember on the old cars to keep them from scraping the curb? They had the little
Feelers.
Yeah.
Curb feelers.
Yeah.
Just have some of
Or
those.
the floats on the side of the boats.
Oh yeah.
When you pull into the dock, so that way you don't bump into the dock.
Yeah, some of those. Yeah.
Just put them like around his shoulders, just let him hang there.
Or what do they call on kayaks? The extra little.
Oh, oh my gosh, what are they called? I've never used them, but and we use them in construction all the time for different machines. I cannot remember what they're called. The little feet that they go out their arms and they have little buoys on them.
Oh yeah.
The outriggers.
Yeah.
Yeah, outriggers. Yeah, outriggers.
Yeah.
You need some wheel outriggers.
Oh my gosh.
They're all the fanciest ways just to say he needs training wheels. And honestly, it's not just his bike; it's his presidency. He needs training wheels.
Yeah, because apparently you can describe America in one word.
I just want to say that's my personal opinion. That isn't the opinion of or any facts. I didn't dig that up anywhere. That is my personal opinion. You too.
Okay. Hey, Susan Wojcicki, he's being serious.
Just blank him out
Yes.
on the video. You'll leave the three of us. It's just a gray spot right there.
I mean, I can say it's my opinion, and I'm talking to Facebook, but hey, they already took my business page down anyway, right?
They're not listening. They're not listening.
They don't care if it was my opinion.
No.
He'll just ask him if they like birds later.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, jeez.
Do we want to move into politics, Friday? So
I mean,
If we're not there already,
Yeah, we're
I
not
don't
quite.
know.
No, we're not quite there.
No?
I didn't think so.
I was
I
just getting prepped. Just getting prepped.
Okay. Just make
So
sure.
for those of you who are not watching on video, I unlocked my iPad and
You
was just
did.
making sure that the articles that I had pulled up were still there.
It usually means game time.
It does usually mean game time, but I was being a little anxious, I guess.
Or it means hustle up. If he's looking at somebody else and we're talking,
Well,
he's
just say you were being prepared.
it's
Yeah,
unlocked.
I was
Just being prepared. Like a Boy Scout.
Well, I mean, we are experiencing a little bit of deja vu. If we're being honest to the audience.
2 times in
yeah.
2 weeks.
So what you're watching right now is actually the second attempt at this episode. So we're hoping and praying that it's still recording right now,
Yeah, right.
and that you're
Well,
hearing our voices. And
That's why I made the joke like that. We've been waiting 2 weeks and 3 days for this one.
Yeah.
yeah. And I texted Danny. I said, you know what? I've been having anxiety ever since we.
He has obviously did not listen to the first episode, and he
No.
was here.
Yeah, I was here. The first time we went.
The first recording, the first attempt.
The first attempt.
You know what? It got cut off at 27 minutes, so maybe he didn't get the rest of it.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's
Mentally, I
fair.
just checked out. No.
No, we do this show on Friday nights. For anybody out there watching, so you get to see it Saturday, right? You drop it Saturday
Normally Saturday,
every
yeah.
Saturday. I don't know why I know that, but I just make sure to clarify. So yeah, we do this every Friday night, and it didn't record at all. So here we are on a Monday.
My last words were peas.
Yeah.
Peas.
Yeah. The last words were peas.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
There were so many jokes.
So yeah. So here's what happened on that recording, as Danny was talking about God's peace, but Alan heard it as
The laughing
Peas.
libertarian
Yeah.
comes in with peas.
he's like, see,
it's God's peas.
He's got peas.
yeah. And then there was a discussion about peas, and I was like, well, hey, because I think Danny said something about not liking peas, and I said, well, actually, you have a good excuse for not eating peas. This is the PSA.
The P essay.
Yeah, the PSA. That's good. I like it. That's very punny. So, men, you can tell your wives, your ladies, your significant others, whomever you're having to be with.
P exempt.
You don't have to eat peas, and especially because they have lectins in them. Lectins are a natural things that plants naturally produce to defend themselves. And these lectins that are in peas can actually cause prostate cancer in men. So yeah,
Isn't that interesting?
Professor Rodriguez.
I heard
Oh, he was ready.
yeah,
I heard that men could have breast cancer too.
yes they can, and it's a high possibility for me because it runs in my family, and I'm chubby, so it doesn't help.
Well, hey, at least in the Biden family, the only downfall they have to worry about is what rides in their family.
Yeah, they're right in the crack of society.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
I don't have anything after that.
You don't have anything?
No.
Oh, man.
I know. I was trying. I can't. I just blank. Blank. Yeah.
That's fair. It's okay.
Big up
Well,
red truck.
At least you're not. Yeah. The red, so when you mentioned the red truck earlier, I was actually thinking like, for whatever reason, my mind said red Dodge Ram. And then you said something about a yellow truck, and I was like, ooh, I would love to have a red Dodge Ram and a yellow Dakota. Dodge Dakota.
And because my brain is like a bag of squirrels most of the time,
Yeah.
you said, don't think of the red truck. And I'm like, I'm not going to look down. Don't look down. Don't look down. Don't look down. I'm not going to look down. You're like, yellow
to
truck.
yourself.
Yeah, right? You're like, yellow truck. I'm like, I'm still not listening to
I'm
you.
not listening.
I'm just not going to look down.
Blue microphone. Blue microphone.
Instead of a yellow truck, it should have been a Volkswagen. You could have
Oh.
flipped it over to a Volkswagen.
Then I'd be thinking about a bug or more of the bus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I'd be thinking of a bunch of people coming here from Cuba. Like, hey, is that a classic car full of 35 individuals? Okay. I don't know. Bring them in. I want the car.
Chevy looking good on that. Them floaters.
Subarus really can go everywhere.
Oh, that's something.
Wasn't it Hitler that discovered
The Volkswagen?
Volkswagen?
Yeah, the car of the people?
Oh, I thought he rode around in a Mercedes. I wasn't for sure.
He actually pushed Volkswagen to be.
Did you say Volkswagen?
Yes.
Yes.
Might as well say it the way they did.
Yeah, both.
That was
You did it so naturally. I just
that
wanted
was
to make
such a
sure.
good German accent.
Yeah.
Hey, calm down, Mr. President. Your house is being raided right now.
Yeah.
As of
Unfairly.
right now.
Unfairly.
Never has this happened to a not a sitting president, sorry, any president.
Yeah, not a president. Well,
Nobody's safe anymore.
Not even his safe. They busted it open.
yeah.
They took everything out of it.
When was it that the White House was burnt down by the Canadians? I guess they.
Well, in Pennsylvania?
Huh?
Was it in Pennsylvania?
Wait, did you say Canadians burned down the White House?
The White House, yeah.
When did
First
this
time.
That
In
was,
Pennsylvania, when
like
the
early
White House
1800s.
was
Yeah.
1800s?
Was it in
Yeah.
Pennsylvania that they had the White House?
I didn't realize it was the Canadians that did that.
Why don't we own Canada right
I
now?
know.
Right now they take 42 soldiers.
Because I went to high school with a fellow that he used to try to remind me all the time that that the Canadians burned the White House, and I was just like,
What's the food they like?
poutine.
Poutine, yeah.
Asian poutine.
Yeah. We'll just take cooking oil away from them. It's done.
We give you this. We take your country.
Well, I used to tell him to say, why don't you just make like your country and leave?
And leave. Nice.
That's why the White House moved to Washington.
Mm.
Yep. Yeah, it's exactly why, because the original had been burnt down by the Canadians. So
That sounds so crazy.
I missed that
So-
history class. I'm so disappointed that my life's a lie.
yeah. So right now we have did you have that article per chance still on your phone?
Which one?
Or Mar-a-Lago.
I can pull it up.
Yeah. So I guess we kind of chat about it a little bit.
Oh.
See if Danny can pull that,
Yeah,
pull that article.
as of right now, since we've been in this about an hour,
Yeah.
so about 2 hours ago is when it started,
Yeah.
from what I heard on the
2
radio,
hours before we start recording. Yeah.
which is, it's insane. They're saying he took documents. They're there to dig into it and see what they can find, of course.
Probably found 2 kilos.
All right. So,
Back of weed.
Trump. Mar-a-Lago home.
Where's this coming from?
This is from, the Fair and Balanced group. Those guys.
We always just want to drop
yeah.
it.
Fox News.
Oh,
Former President Trump on Monday said that his Mar-a-Lago home in Florida is under siege, quote unquote. Can you give us the air quotes over there?
Under Swedes.
Under Swedes. Freudian slip, I'm sorry. Under siege by a large group, that's also in quotes, of FBI agents.
A large siege
A
Of Swedes.
of Swedes.
large siege by a undergroup of FBI agents? Is that where we're going? Nothing is like this has ever, this is him quoting, this is Trump, Mr. President here. Nothing like this has ever happened to a president of the United States before, after work. Do you want to read this actually in your...
Yeah. Let's
yeah,
try
why
that.
don't you do that?
Nothing like this has ever happened to a president of the United States before. See, after working and cooperating with relevant government agencies, this unannounced raid on my home was not necessary or appropriate. Okay, it is prosecutorial misconduct. This weaponization of the justice system and an attack by radical left Democrats who desperately don't want me to run for president in 2024, believe me. Especially based on recent polls, and who will likewise do anything to stop Republicans and conservatives in the upcoming midterm elections, okay?
Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome.
There you go.
Sorry about your house and your stuff.
Yeah.
They're just, and what was the basis for it? I mean, they didn't quite,
Oh, it's, let's see.
what-
Source familiar told Fox News that the raid occurred early this morning. The source said agents brought a safe cracker and cracked a relatively new safe in Mar-a-Lago. Source told Fox News there was nothing in it.
Although that was opposed to a cracker they don't trust.
Yeah.
The safe cracker. That cracker they don't trust.
well, if they go to Hunter Biden's house, they're going to find all kinds of crack. Cracking.
That is safe.
Yeah.
Multiple sources tell Fox News the FBI's raid of Mar-a-Lago is related to the materials Trump allegedly brought to his private residence after his presidency concluded. That matter was referred to the Justice Department by the National Archives and Records Administration, which said it found classified materials in 15 boxes at the residence. Federal law bars the removal of classified documents to unauthorized locations, though it is possible that Trump could try to argue that, as president, he was the ultimate declassification authority. So
He's like, I'll take one of these, 3 of those, 2 of those.
and they're all declassified. Even the one that has Kennedy on it.
Nice.
You know what he should have put in those boxes? Everything from the Hunter Biden laptops.
That would have been too good.
Just like Trump's secret stash or whatever, you know.
Hey FBI, what'd you find? We can't talk about it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Oh, wait, but they found the laptop, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, because they couldn't find it at the hearing they were having because they didn't know where it was at.
Well, they also couldn't find it when they were at Rudy Giuliani's house raiding his home.
You're right.
And he said, here's the laptop. He held it out for him, and he was like, you know what I should have done? I should have raided it. Because that's what he joked about. That's where I got that joke. I should have put it, Giuliani's #1 secret, super secret laptop, so that they would have took it.
Nice.
But yeah,
That's so
It's amazing. Inept. Just inept.
I mean, and nothing's going to come of it. I mean, let's
No.
hope to ourselves.
No,
Nothing at all is going to come of it.
yeah.
they're too busy raiding a president.
Yeah, we're not talking about all the FBI right here, right now, because obviously the federal agents that are
the big guys, the guys at the top.
the top brass. They're
That's a shame too. It's just like putting a bad reflection on the entire agency as a whole. It's just bad.
in bed with the Democrats pretty deeply, and it's just Washington corruption in general, because I'm sure people like Liz Cheney are probably right in there with all that. Unfortunately, we have a few rhinos that we just need to get them out and get them out quickly.
Yeah. Our enemy is not in Russia; it's in the White House.
It's in the White House. That's right. Yeah, the only person that's got to worry about Putin right now is Miss Brittney Griner, who also ended up in an article from Fox News.
Good segue.
So
Nice.
During the Brittney Griner trial, Russian court hands down verdict, sentence in WNBA star's case. Brittney Griner, an American basketball superstar and Olympic medalist, on Thursday learned her fate in a Russian court after she pleaded guilty to a drug charge last month.
Did you just say her? They haven't gotten the results of her blood test back yet.
Repeat what you just said.
Did you just say her? Because they have not gotten the results of her blood test back yet.
That's
I
called
said her him for a second there.
They're trying to figure out exactly which prison to put that person in. I'm not even joking.
Yeah. What she needs to do is look at him and go, that's called doping. Okay.
It's ma'am.
It is ma'am. So a Russian judge convicted Griner of a drug possession and drug smuggling and sentenced her to 9 years in prison. She was also fined 1 million rubles, the equivalent of $16,200. So pretty much her WNBA salary.
I was going to say the gross net the net profit of the WNBA.
Right.
Yeah, she made more than that just signing a few things for the Russian oligarchs. That's how she was able to stay out of jail year after year, I'm sure. But Griner, who's 31, appeared in a courtroom in Khimki, just outside of Moscow. She issued an apology ahead of her verdict and sentencing as prosecutors pushed for a 9.5 year sentence. She said, quote, "I want to apologize to my teammates, my club, my fans, and the city of Yekaterinburg."
That one.
Yeah, sure, why not? So for my mistake that I made and the embarrassment that I brought on them. I want to also apologize to my parents, my siblings, the Phoenix Mercury organization back at home, the amazing women of the WNBA, and my amazing spouse back at home. End quote. Griner contended she made an honest mistake when she brought vape cartridges containing oils derived from cannabis into a Moscow airport back in February, adding, quote, "I hope in your ruling it does not end my life." She was sentenced to 9 years.
Is this the first time that they ever caught her with drugs? Because she's been playing for them 8 years.
Yeah, she's been going over there. So she's for 6.5 years. She's been able to go there and professionally play and make money. But that's according to the article here. But yeah, I'm sure that she probably did bring drugs always in the years past. I'm not saying that she did for sure, but as an American, she probably felt entitled to that. That privilege, and even though she doesn't like the national anthem.
Right. Yeah, she didn't say she's sorry to all of her country, embarrassing her country or anything like that. No, she's sorry, and she felt like she's needs to apologize to her family, to the women of the WNBA, to the organization who pays her measly paycheck, and nothing about the country that actually provides her the freedom.
Yeah,
I would imagine she should be very appreciative. She would be more appreciative about what she is experiencing, about how the United States would have treated an infraction like this compared to Russia. Which honestly, Russia, in terms of other countries, is going pretty light on her. So
right, I was just saying it's not too far off from what would happen here in a lot of states.
Yeah,
I mean, granted, since she's so used to having that, apparently because she doesn't even realize she's carrying drugs on her at this point, she's probably used to having such lax rules around her anyway that she doesn't obviously.
I mean, come on, Russia. Well, I wouldn't be on such pins and needles just going through security just to go in. No.
Well, definitely here she doesn't way, but I think her relationship with, because in order to play over there and begin with, you have to have good relationships with Russian oligarchs. It's just how it works. That's just how you get to do anything there, especially on higher level. And making the money she was making, that was the only way she could keep going there year after year. So I think she just felt emboldened to just keep doing so. She, like I said, she's probably done this in the past, and she just felt emboldened to do so, and they didn't stop her in the past, so she just assumed that it was going to keep going that way. And this is my speculation, that Putin was like, hey, that one basketball star, let's just put her in prison if we can.
Well, I'm not even like, okay, she made a mistake, stupid, and you did it in Russia. 9 years, that's your penance, that's what you got to pay for it. I'm just like everybody else. It's like, the thing is sort of like, this is unjust, and this is like, it's not your country.
Right.
It's not your country. They can do what they want. Yeah. And that should make you even more appreciative for living in this country.
Yeah.
Well, and I hate it because they're like, be very careful when you travel abroad because this is how Americans are treated. She's not being treated any differently than their citizens.
Yeah.
Yeah, she'll be fine. You know why, Ellen? She doesn't have to hear the national anthem for the next 9 years.
That's right.
And you got to look at the bright side.
She's going to want to listen to it here soon.
You're going to have to look at the bright side. She's going to be in there with other females.
When she gets to kneel as much as she wants to as well, because that's the only way she's going to get to the doorways.
True.
She's a very tall person.
Oh, yes, she is.
So, yeah, I mean, at least she's, like you said, at least she's safe. They should just play it constantly. They should just understand that is what actually breaks her down mentally.
That would be something they would do. What's her weakness? What does she hate the most? The national anthem.
Oh, just play it all the time.
Just all the time. When she's trying to sleep, just keep her up at night just playing our national anthem.
Or just at random times, like just have it on a randomized loop where it only play, like maybe it plays 2 a.m. today, but tomorrow it's going to play at like 2:04, like something really way off.
Because I definitely assume she's not going to reach out to God to fix that anxiety she's dealing with by listening to the national anthem.
Hey, you never know. No atheist in a foxhole. Even Brittney Griner may switch it.
From the producer.
Look at your messages.
Look at my messages.
Yes.
Yeah, apparently I've got messages.
I do too. From
Yeah,
my wife as
I
well.
definitely do.
You want to see how many?
Okay, yeah, so I have a lot of messages there.
We're all checking our phones.
We're all doing it.
Well, I mean, so you want me to look at what you sent me there,
Yeah.
Laura? What? I don't know. She said check your messages, so.
Of course.
Okay, so Laura's replacing Sterling tonight to do the producing, and so Sterling, our perfect producer, who's normally in that chair, and I've fired Laura many times to replace her with him, but she's doing a good job tonight. She actually is. Sterling is actually texting me right now, asking me about something. So yeah, he's just trying to stay in the loop.
I thought maybe he was like, do I need to come down? How many times has Laura been fired?
Well, since we're all sharing texts, and I share what my wife sent me.
Oh, no.
That looks tasty, doesn't it?
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. That's what happens when your dog is overfed.
Oh, jeez.
She took a nap and woke up to that.
That's fantastic.
Well, at least cats warn you, you know.
Oh, my dog's warned you too.
Yeah,
You're not going to be fast enough.
The cats, you know, because my wife and I used to have a cat, and it was always like just the worst time in the night. Just like right after you just doze off and you get into that good sleep.
I've heard that about cats.
Yeah, you start hearing that, it's like, oh, you can't get up fast enough. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
Cats.
I'm just sitting here realizing, like, just how perfect this conversation is right after talking about Brittney Griner. Mike, if I had to sum her up, it would be cat vomit. Or because we can't figure out what it is, dog vomit works as well.
Was that corn I saw there?
Oh, jeez.
What is
Now
that?
that joke was corny.
That's gross.
All right, what else you got for us, Josh? Really?
Just talk amongst yourself for a
Oh,
second.
jeez.
Is he texting Sterling?
Josh is, I don't know. I think he's talking to Sterling.
Just get ready for the mall.
Just getting ready for the mall. We're going to the mall? New hats?
The shooting.
Do you hear that?
Yeah. Oh, I hear the haptic feedback and the little taps. Josh is keeping his head down, ignoring us right now, so we'll talk. Kind of how that's felt the last 2 weeks.
It's the show.
Yeah,
Since we had the
been
COVID
sort
thing.
of quiet.
So-
That's right, yeah.
What I'm doing is actually putting up a wall.
It's a wall. Is it?
It's a big, beautiful wall.
Is it? Is it?
Yeah.
Do we need to fill it in?
So, funnily enough, Alan, yes.
Funnily. I like it.
Funnily enough, our
So we have Laura filling in for Sterling, and we have Biden
filling in the walls.
filling in the wall.
There we
So,
go.
also coming from Fox News,
Another
Biden's
good
Arizona
segue.
border wall move could be to help one of their own. I just did that like Chris Farley a little bit, didn't I? It's going to help one of their own to win the re-election at the border. The border official says. So the timing of Biden administration's announcement to complete the open segments of the border wall near Yuma, Arizona, Danny's very familiar with that area, could be to help one of their own, said Brandon Judd. Let's go, Brandon. President for the National Border, I'm editing as we go, Border Control Council, as Senator Mark Kelly, Democrat, faces a tough re-election fight amidst criticism from the GOP over border security and immigration. DOH, or Department of Homeland Security, Secretary Alejandro
Mayorkas.
Mayorkas, thank you, Alan, announced Thursday that he had approved construction to close several gaps in the border wall in Yuma, in the Yuma sector, that have become highly trafficked spots for border crossers. Mayorkas said the gaps were a safety risk for migrants due to the proximity to the Morelos Dam. So
Safety risk for the migrants.
Yep, of course.
the highly trafficked.
Come off the dam.
I find it interesting that you use the word trafficked, because I think that has to do with the fact that they're trafficking humans. They're trafficking young people for very, very bad, nefarious things.
Well, that's exactly what the cartels are doing. They're trafficking human beings, and we're always against human trafficking apparently in this country. But yet we just want to let people come across the border.
Only in the cities where Super Bowls are.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the only time we crack down.
So where's it going to be this year?
I don't know. When they started taking a knee, I stopped watching.
Yeah,
Pretty
same
much
here.
me too.
Louis, have you? I mean, I think I watched a couple Colts games last season, but you know,
I don't think I watched anything.
When they started taking a knee, I bowed out.
Just too much. Too much. I just want to watch football.
yeah.
Anyways, back to the wall.
Yeah, so Kelly for months has been advocating for approval to close those gaps and celebrated the announcement in a statement on Thursday, taking credit for finally being able to, quote, secure a commitment from the administration to get this done, according to his office. The actual construction could be months away, however. Kelly told News 11 Yuma in an interview Thursday that he expects the first contract to be finalized in September. With construction scheduled to be finalized, and DHS announcement that, quote, prior to construction, DHS will engage in standard environmental planning and conduct stakeholder outreach and construction while moving as expectedly as possible.
This story just cracks me up. I'm sorry. It's the simple fact that every single thing Biden shot down as soon as he became president.
He's doing now.
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
just thinking the exact same thing.
Right. It's like executive order, straight from the king himself.
Yeah.
And with his royal decrees, shooting down, the wall because it's a racist wall.
Mhm.
And then, of course, getting rid of price fixing on necessary medicines.
Right.
And then turning around and going, hey, let's fill in the wall. We're not finishing it. And, oh, by the way, we're going to crack down on this medicine. However, cracking down on the medicine is not nearly as efficient in his way as it was under the previous administration.
Not even remotely.
I mean, it's awful. Like, I don't know if you've even looked at that. I don't want to get off the wall topic, but it's miserable. I was reading some of the details about how the medicine's going to be broken down. It's like they're going to negotiate prices, and then people on Medicare will be capped at a certain amount versus before it was like legitimately across the board.
Right.
Insulin's going to be this.
Yeah.
And now he killed that for whatever. So
right.
It's because in 2 years he knew he was going to need that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you say before, Danny? Was like, well, let's get rid of that so it can be my idea later.
Yeah. Well, that's what he does, and that's what he's shown to do. He has no good ideas. Democrats have no good ideas, and so they either try to continue to push things, social agendas, which isn't making them any more popular with anybody else other than their own base, but then they realize, well, we can't just be popular with our own base. So what was it that Trump did again that was popular? Oh, let's do that, and then we'll just say that we did it, such as filling in the border wall. It was you got to be an idiot not to see that had to be done.
Well, and God bless Peter Ducey. When he asked the press secretary,
Loved it. Oh, I loved it.
he said, "So if you're filling in the border wall, is it still racist?"
When it's completed, is it still a racist wall?
Yeah.
Because during the last administration, you said it was racist that it was being built. So is it still racist if you're? And
We're not finishing the wall.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're just filling it.
When you're done filling it in.
Yeah.
That's
That's
the same thing.
That's why he said
Changing
it's going to be a
definitions.
while before it gets done, and maybe in 2024. That's
Right.
probably.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, yeah,
Start now.
They'll just drag it out. I mean, that's not something they're going to be rushing to do, but they need to make it look like they're making an effort to do it. That's it. That's all they need to do.
And see, that's why I have such a disdain for Washington, D.C. anyway, because you have so many people who venture to Washington, D.C. and get those seats and get those jobs,
Mhm.
and they want to make change, and then they get there and they live there, and now they're in this bubble where they just want to pass what they want to pass, and then they make enough money to then forget about the people they're representing.
Yeah.
And so, at that point, they're not representing the people; they're representing their own pocketbook,
Mhm.
and their own agenda, and just what they want. They're stomping their feet, and they want what they want.
Mhm.
And at some point, they're so disconnected from the American public that the things that what they're trying to pass just don't help.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop there before I get into the bill from
That's
yesterday.
That's why they're raising taxes.
Dang it, Louis, you went there.
Yeah, no.
Well, I mean,
There we go.
just before you talk about that, I want to talk about how the fact that I'm not even in office and my wall is still getting built. Okay, it's still going to get done ahead of schedule and under budget. Promises made, promises kept. Believe me.
It's so great because every administration has worked on that wall.
Yeah.
And Democrat, Republican, they've all worked on that wall. They've all maintained that wall.
Got their initials etched on it somewhere.
Yeah,
This is
somewhere.
my piece. This is my part right here.
Well, that's because they went there and
Yeah.
etched it themselves. Biden's and etched the wall.
Yeah, there's
Oh,
probably,
yeah.
so is AOC's initials in where she cried at? Is that I'm sure that.
Yeah. No, she thought that was the wall. It's just a chain link fence. She
It
was
was-
totally confused.
It was her backyard.
Yeah.
An empty parking lot. Is what
Somewhere in Florida at a park.
It was kids playing
With
in
her buddy.
a backyard behind hers.
Yeah.
Kickball.
Yeah. Like they were putting the dogs in their little kennel outside, and she's like, "Oh no!"
Gosh.
And then you got Camilla over there looking at the wall, laughing like a hyena.
Hyena. Cackling.
It was the fence separating the children from the horse track where she was practicing.
He's referring to the fact that AOC looks a lot like a horse.
Yes, quite a bit.
Yeah.
That's
Man,
because
I
you love her.
I'm sort of thinking
That's what she said.
Yeah, exactly.
But
donkey.
she tried to
The
talk.
donkey. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, she tried to talk to Alan one time, and he said, "Nay means nay."
Hey, means nay. Yes, did you take yourself in your bridal rage over there? Just-
We got 15 minutes.
I've been chomping on the bit to say that.
He's on a roll today, folks. This was not happening in the first recording.
Yeah,
It's going right now.
That joke
He's on a roll.
It had teeth. I'm telling
It
you.
had
Yeah.
teeth. Don't keep me going. Just don't do it. Don't do it.
Well, you know how they got her to introduce the green bean dill?
How's that?
They put peanut butter in her lip.
Oh, nice. Oh, God, I love that. I love that so much. That's fantastic. Woo. Anybody who's watched my show, they know how much I just love AOC. She's my favorite.
There's so much there.
I'm just waiting. Well, it's like
You
what
know,
is it? AOC is my everyday for a Bernie Sanders holiday, right? Like I'm sitting there like I can tear AOC up every single day, every single week. She's gonna say something stupid, and then eventually, old
Well, that's her
Grandpa Bernie.
constituents, right? Social media.
Right,
I mean,
and Grandpa Bernie's gonna bump in there occasionally and say
Yeah.
something, and I'm gonna be like, oh, yes! And then he said something smart yesterday, so I
Yeah.
Yeah.
can't really.
He
he actually-
Dang it! He learned math.
Yeah. Yeah.
No socialist has
Not a
ever
good-
learned math.
It's not a good sign for you when the socialist tells you you're spending too much money.
Well, he was
Never
like,
good.
well, what we have here is book sales, so I have to. Yeah, it's a bad idea. Let's not do this.
He had to sleep on his own couch for once in his career
Yeah.
instead of somebody else's.
I found that I quite like capitalism.
Oh my goodness,
Wow.
man.
I might purchase a comb tomorrow. I don't know.
His mittens, though. He's got
Oh my goodness.
Mittens are the
The meme mittens. The mittens memes.
crazy.
They put him everywhere. They put him everywhere.
Every time he does anything.
Yeah, but when he was at the inauguration, because so one of the things I do at my job is I clean up computers and stuff.
Technicolor
Very good job. And somebody's laptop that came back had a vinyl sticker of him in the mittens at the inauguration. And I saw it and I was laughing so loud, but like the people I was in the office with at that time, I was like, I can't say anything about what I'm laughing about.
Right.
So I just took a picture real quick and saved it on my phone. Oh.
You know,
How about the shooting in the mall?
Oh yeah, so on a different note here, local hero, for I can't remember where he's exactly from, but the young man's name is Elijah Dickens. So this happened in Greenwood here recently. So for Greenwood, Indiana. So for us at the table, that was really close to home, and it was a good guy with a gun who stopped a bad guy with a gun at the Greenwood Park Mall. So this article comes from Conservative Firing Line. And there's more to the story than the good guy with the gun at the Greenwood Park Mall on that Sunday evening. Things which bring a fresh perspective to light that the left absolutely hates. Elijah Dickens, who's 22, or Eli, told news media that his grandfather taught him how to shoot. He has no military or police training, but he certainly has excellent situational awareness. He shot and killed a rifle-toting murderer with his handgun with 10 shots from several yards away, just seconds after the man opened fire at the food court. Jonathan Sperriman, 20, the gunman, went into the bathroom at the mall and spent approximately 62 minutes preparing his attack and came out firing. Dickens was at the food court with his girlfriend, Shay Goldman, who was coming out of the restroom. She saw the man with a long gun and told her grandmother that she had a sickening feeling. Elijah immediately told her to get down and pushed her aside. She hid behind a kiosk. Then he steadied himself against a pole and opened fire on the attacker, 10 shots from a handgun approximately 40 yards away. So, for you, those of you who don't know yards, look at a football field at any given time and see the men running around on a football field during a football game, and it's just about half. So that's a really big distance there. The suspect tried to flee back into the bathroom but collapsed on the floor. Eli also directed people away from the shooting. Dickin had situational awareness, leadership, action, competency, all qualities necessary in an emergency situation that they needed that day in Greenwood Park Mall. As soon as the shooting stopped, his girlfriend jumped up and began tending to the wounded. She has been a nursing student for the last 2 years, according to her grandmother. Had the Indiana carry law went into effect just 1 month later, the body count would have been significantly higher. And yes, most malls are gun-free zones. But according to WXIN, it's not against the law to ignore the no firearm signs under Indiana's permitless carry statute. I want you guys to hear that again. It's not against the law to ignore the no firearm signs under the Indiana's permitless carry statute, okay? The Greenwood Park Mall, the people in there that day, and the police are thankful that Elijah Dickin did exactly that and neutralized the threat. It would have taken longer to dial 911. The Second Amendment did its job that day. It only took him 15 seconds to stop that active shooter.
8 for 10.
Yeah.
8 for
And
10, 40 yards away.
the shooter had killed 3 people and wounded 2 others. So just in that short amount of time, so imagine trying to dial 911. I mean, and there's already 3 people dead, 2 people wounded. Thank God.
8 for 10, 40 yards away. Moving target.
I couldn't do it.
Most college quarterbacks can't hit their wide receivers 40 yards out 8 out of 10 times in a moving target.
I don't even think Peyton Manning had that kind of accuracy.
We only practiced 25 yards in our quals. I mean, 25 yards. You're looking for, with a handgun. 40 yards, moving target, stress.
Yeah, lots of people around and making
That's
noise.
composed.
And, yeah, very composed.
Very composed.
And
So,
his grandfather did a really good job of training him and teaching him about situational awareness, as the article said. Yeah, I just can't say enough good things about Eli here. I think.
I think the problem. I think the tragedy here is the talk about how he broke what some people think he is, that he broke the law, and not showing that
That's why I read that line twice to make sure that people know.
whether it's allowed or not allowed. Gun-free zones are stupid.
Yeah.
They are dumb. I can't think of any good reason to have a gun-free zone. I just can't.
Except for to invite people to come in and shoot up everybody.
Right. I mean, because here's the thing, right? The criminal does not care if it's gun. Well, he does care if it's gun-free because he knows there won't be any guns in there.
Correct.
He is going to bring the gun in. He's already intending on breaking the law. Like, I still don't get how people can sit here and say, logically, that gun-free, putting up a sign that says gun-free zone is going to protect anybody in that mall, because criminals don't care about the law. So
By definition,
by definition, right.
criminals don't care about, they don't follow the law, by definition. Chicago, we're talking about you.
Right? New York City. I mean, just most of California. It's just, it never, I don't understand.
He's not having a stroke.
I don't.
It's Tourette's.
I do when we get on. I mean, I really start. It burns me up because I don't. There's no good. Again, I will. Okay, we can talk and discuss background checks, and I think really honestly, we're not doing anything about mental health, which we talked about at the beginning of the show. We're not addressing that largely as a society. We're trying to put Band-Aids on it with medication. We're ignoring it. We're ignoring the PTSD problems that we have with our veterans. And we're definitely not doing anything for them after all they sacrificed. And we're just willy-nilly empowering a young generation and just saying, hey, you're entitled, and if you do this thing, you'll just get a slap on the wrist. You're not going to get in trouble for it. Just so continue to get worse and worse and worse and increase your level of criminal activity until you get to a point to where you just want to drive by a park and there's a bunch of people out there having a birthday party. You just want to shoot it up just because. I mean, gun-free zones
Yeah, they won't
don't
do that
work.
anywhere me and Louie and Alan are because
Yeah,
we're all
I mean-
back at any time. So
They want to use examples of cities that they'll say, well, not all liberal cities are, have bad gun crime. But you just can't assume also that the culture is crime, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
It could happen anywhere.
it can happen anywhere.
It takes
And,
one person. I mean, it's one person of a giant population, right? To just make
Right.
that decision that day.
and mass shootings, by the way, most mass shootings are not done by rifles. Mass shooting is considered 4 or more people that are injured. Am I wrong?
You're
Yeah.
right,
No, okay.
except
That
that definition has actually been changed from 3.
is it?
Do you know why it was
Oh,
changed from
did
3?
add one? Why?
Because most inner city shootings that happen that are gang related, that typically fall along certain racial lines, typically affect 3 or less.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So major
They
cities
went at
adopted to the 4 rule
right,
to eliminate mass shootings being most gang shootings.
right.
And so that changes the narrative of what you picture a mass shooter looking like.
Well, you still go and look at the statistics. It's still almost 300 of these. So I think it's climbing, obviously, now. Last time I checked, it was 256. And we're talking about 4. Most of them were about 4 or a little bit over. And they were either killed or they were injured by a gun. But most of them weren't a long arm. A lot of them were handguns. And nobody talks about those. They just want to talk about the ones where somebody's taking in, an AR-15 and doing damage. It's
Military
yeah.
machines of
The-
weapons of war.
the AR-15, the assault rifle 15, right?
No, yeah, not
You
that
know what I mean?
Armalite. Don't say
Yeah.
Armalite.
Oh my gosh. Like every weapon's an assault weapon. Knife, fist, whatever.
I could see the people yelling. I could see the people yelling, "Security, security! Wait a minute! 911! We're having a mass shooting here."
how many
Yeah.
more people are dying in all that time waiting for the police? I mean, because the response time was about 2.5 minutes.
Right,
That's what
yeah.
they said. So even with the response time, 2.5 minutes, he killed 3 people and injured 2 more
Yeah.
in 15 seconds.
Yeah.
How many more people would he have killed
Right.
injured?
Right. And could you imagine that during that 15 seconds was when he was getting shot?
Yeah,
Could you imagine during the 15 seconds just without any resistance whatsoever?
unbridled.
And I tell people all the time, back to AOC. And I tell people all the time, protect yourself because self-defense happens in seconds when police are minutes away.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
was obvious here.
Yeah. And
They should
let's not
give
even-
them guns. They should give security guns.
Yeah. And when you got the whole Uvalde thing that happened too. You don't expect a police force to react and act like they did, but sometimes that happens. And so, not to say anything negative about the Greenwood police, I'm sure that they do a great job. And
They did a phenomenal
99% of the people that I've got family that's law enforcement. I was former law enforcement. It's just things happen.
You
Things
can't
happen.
plan for it all.
So-
And you only have so many people.
Right.
You can only cover so much area.
We need
And it happens quick.
good
Well, unless
responsible-
you're in Uvalde, because if you're in Uvalde, you
takes
wait,
an hour and a half.
you wait an hour and a half
Yeah.
before you enter the building, and then even then, you let a off-duty security officer who's,
a former border patrol. No, actually, I'm not former. He was a border patrol agent.
former
Yeah,
trade,
he was, Bortac, or he was. I think he was Bortac.
yeah, who borrowed a shotgun from a neighbor,
Yeah.
and went in and took care of it.
Took care of the job.
Oh, go ahead.
The response for the police in New York is about 3 to 4 minutes. In 3 to 4 minutes,
You
you
can
It's
bleed
all
out
a bunch of
easily.
people.
It's all
A lot
over.
can happen.
It's all over in 3 or 4 minutes.
I don't mean to judge you guys I love you guys, but you guys have spent the better part of a whole year trying to convert me to Jesus.
Mhm.
Yes.
And Eli was able to send him to Jesus in less than 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he went for judgment, see. And
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I don't think he's going to a good place. I just have a feeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
If only he had someone who could have talked to him about it.
Well, I mean, I don't know what's been said about him. Anyways, I haven't heard anything that about the shooter and what his backstory was. But I mean, we look at all these shooters and their backstories, and it's extremely disturbing.
Living with his grandparents.
I mean, he had an apartment,
Yeah. But
evicted.
Yeah.
Left. I mean, because he had the butane tank in his oven with his
Wow.
laptop. So what we don't know. Obviously,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is definitely just me. Look, I think maybe he
Conjecture.
set that up. Yeah.
Right.
I think he maybe set that up and went to the mall because he was going to shoot people, but he was waiting for his apartment to blow
Right.
because that would pull all EMS. And then when he sat there for an hour and didn't have any information that his apartment exploded,
right.
he was then backed into a corner. Well, the mall closes in 2 minutes or 5 minutes or a minute. I can't just walk out of here now and go back to my apartment that's getting ready to explode.
Right.
So now it's go time.
Yeah.
And so again, I'm just thinking like if I were in that position, how would I be thinking? Like my one plan that was going to pull all police and medical and fire and everything to this area didn't work.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, evicted, left his job. I mean, everything was bought legally, but that's all I really know about him.
He was very depressed.
Yeah, certainly.
Mostly, he had several depressions. Actually, a lot of it was on the side.
Well, he's certainly holy now, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Swiss cheese. Okay. One more phone noise. Okay, so that's the time, folks.
No, you're out of time.
What? What?
So that is the
I can't hear
stack.
anybody right now. Is my headphones on?
Yeah.
I'm done.
So the alarm or noise you just heard, it wasn't supposed to actually go up. I don't know how that sound on that. Anyway, we have a stop clock that we use to figure out how many minutes we got left. So we're actually over just a smidge right now. So I'm just gonna.
His ears are smoking.
You all right there, Louis? Okay, so we're gonna
I'm
have
deaf.
Danny bring us home in prayer, and then we'll do some outros here.
Lord, we just thank you for this time, God. I know we're trying to make light of things and joke, and just humor and laughter is a good thing. And sometimes it can be offensive, but I think really honestly, if we can just laugh at ourselves, even that just makes life even better to some degree, God. And I just thank you for that ability to laugh. I thank you for that, for the concept of humor. And God, I thank you for just the word tonight that you have brought for us in Philippians, God. I thank you for that there is a cure, and that there is a way that we can fight and have victory, not have to deal with it, not have to just put up with it, but we can actually overcome big fear and anxiety in our lives, God. Lord, and just for the things that are going on in our world today and all the crazy talk of what we're hearing people doing, our government, just God, it says you put the kings in place and out of place. You put the presidents there. I mean, it's whatever it is that you're wanting to do and it's happening doesn't mean that we can't still pray for our president, for the administration to course correct, make a change, do something different, or just consider what the American people. It's a hard job. I'm not going to say it's easy.
Just complete a sentence.
People, God. So I just ask that you'll just watch over us and be with us as we go, and be with our audience, and just thank you for watching. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
So that was Danny Tippett.
I don't like the complete sentences.
No, I liked
Wait,
it.
I
I
just
really liked
did.
it. It's a whole lot of
I don't
running.
like to. Complete.
So that was Danny Tippett, leading us home with prayer.
You
Host of What is the Truth with Danny Tippett. Thank you for coming, sir. What is the truth about?
What is the truth about anxiety? Coming next is going to be deep.
So make sure and go check that out. Next to him, we have host of Rodriguez, Louis Rodriguez. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure. And
I feel like the beginning of Danny's outro there was just apologizing to God for me.
was it God or Gid?
Gid.
I should have said that too.
Look over Alan.
Thank you, Gad. Thank you for Alan.
Find his khakis.
Yeah. Just bless him, Lord.
Bless him, Lord.
Yeah, give him at least about 15. Anyway, host of The Laughing Libertarian, Alan McFarland. Make sure you, thank you for joining us, Alan. But make sure that you comment for this guy, because we want him to get saved. We want him to get all stirred up in his soul, and we want him to declare Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. So
Jesus.
that's right.
I was just hoping you guys would comment and say you liked something I said, or even.
Well, yeah, you can do that too if you want.
Maybe you'll subscribe to my channel too.
Or if you hate what he said, you can comment for that too, because hey, it just furthers the algorithm. So we appreciate it.
Hate me, but thank you for having me on.
Always a pleasure, Alan. And you're always bringing the laughter. That's for sure.
Even if Danny's apologizing to God for it.
Again.
God, I throw that in there, Gad.
And I've been your host, Joshua Cummins. This has been a lovely time. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.